Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at wheeltalkpodcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com.
Hello.
Thanks. Okay, I might have started a couple seconds late. I don't
Oh,
know.
man.
I think I'm good.
Fine.
Wait,
Hi,
are we
Ryan.
live?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Normally you're like, "Hi, Ryan."
I did that, kind of. Not really.
I didn't hear you. And Marble's joining. Marble's like, "Yeah, we're live."
We're live, bitch.
No food for you, Marbs.
Hi, Marvel. Hello. Hi, Ryan.
Hi. Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a while. I feel like it's,
Yeah, it feels like it has been. I guess because you were gone on a workshop trip and I was gone on a vacation trip, so
yeah.
we didn't really talk this weekend.
Yeah. How was the last couple weeks been?
The last couple of weeks? I've seen you since then. Shit, I don't even know past, like, before we got back from when we left for Austin.
Oh, well, tell us how Austin was.
Austin was good. We went on Friday and then we came back Monday. So it was like we had all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like the right length of time, I think, for a trip away. Sometimes if you go more than like 3 days, it feels like too much because you're like, okay, we kind of hit the main parts of like dinners we wanted to see and like places we wanted to see.
Right.
Because there's not like, and one thing we didn't think about, they had that big like ice storm. I don't know how long ago that was, like a month ago?
Mm-hmm.
Was it in Austin? So we went to like botanical garden and like looking around, like everything is dead with like the plants. Like they have like palm trees and stuff and they're all just dead. And the botanical gardens, like they had these huge cactus at one of the like park gardens or whatever, and they were just like dead. Like the trunks just fell over and because they never get freeze. Yeah, so one of the ladies there was saying, yeah, we get cold weather, but it's only for a max of like 3 days.
Right.
And it was actually down to like the 20s, so it was like really cold. And it was cold for like 5 days there. So man, all the foliage and stuff just was like, yeah.
They're like, screw you guys, we're out. We are out.
But it was nice weather when we were there. It was sunny and like 80, I think, and
nice.
High 70s, mid 70s, so didn't rain or anything. But yeah, we went. It's mostly a lot of like shopping and stuff and food. So we ate some barbecue, which barbecue is like my favorite type of food. So we had a couple different places with barbecue. We did some like antique hunting and kind of thrift shop sort of thing. Because so Rachel was with me, and then Rachel's parents were with me too, and Rachel kind of gets the thrifting and stuff from her dad, so they really liked that. And then so we did a lot of that kind of thing and tried to do as much outdoor stuff as we could, and got some good food and all that good stuff. So
nice. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was good. It kind of reminded me. I was telling my coworker, it kind of reminded me of Raleigh a little bit, Raleigh, North Carolina, but it's bigger. And I think it was because of like the barbecue and like the demographics that live there. It's like a generally like younger crowd that lives there.
Yeah.
Like 20 somethings, 30 somethings. So it's a lot of that kind of age group there with the college there. And there's also like, I think it's a bigger like tech place too, so there's a lot of like young professionals there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, there's like a lot of cars and traffic, a lot more cars and traffic than like Raleigh. But yeah, it was great. That was the second time we'd been there. So, have you ever been there?
No, I've actually never been to Texas.
Okay.
My sister lived there for like 3 years, and I've never been there.
I think we only really have been to Austin. I don't think we've been to Dallas or I might have been there when I was like a kid or something because we have family that lives in Dallas, Fort Worth area, I think. So, but I've never been to Houston or Dallas or San Antonio or anything like that. We've just been to Austin twice. So, yeah, I think we'll make another trip back to Texas somewhere. So,
Nice.
how was your workshop trip?
Great. It was great.
How long was that? Were you gone 3 or 4 days or something? Or
Yeah, so we left Wednesday midday, and then we got back on Sunday night at like midnight. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then part of Sunday, like 9 to 2 on Sunday. So I went to a workshop with Danny Meisinger.
Meisinger, that's how you say it. Okay.
I think it's Meisinger. And what's funny is that I would have never gone to I would have never gone to this workshop had I not gotten fucking shit-faced the night that we did the podcast with Dante and Lindsay. Because I was like, I started drinking at the beginning of that podcast, and then I just kept drinking, and then Bear was like, hey, you want to go to a podcast with me? And I'm like, completely hammered.
You mean a workshop with you?
Or yeah, the workshop with me, and I'm like completely hammered, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And
so you were committed to it.
Well, we touched base when we were both sober because he was kind of drunk too. But yeah, and so it was so good. Danny's like, he's like an old school potter. I don't think he would say he's an old school potter. I don't know, but he is kind of like an old school potter in the sense of he's very invested in what clay is and the education behind clay, and like he's not a surface level potter, you know. He's got like a ton of the bones in pottery, and he's been doing it for 30 years. And if you have a chance and you're near Kansas, or even if you're not near Kansas, I wouldn't say
Indiana's near Kansas necessarily, but
yeah, I would highly recommend it. It was, I don't know if I've done any other workshops, but but as a seasoned potter going in, I learned a lot. And I know that the ones that came in that didn't have a lot of experience also learned a lot. He catered to every single skill set. Yeah. And he's like a super freaking nice guy, like super nice guy. And, and he's got like this Kwanzaa hut that his studio's in, and it's got this, like, you can go and if you want to do the workshop, and you don't want to pay for a hotel, you can literally like sleep in the upstairs of his studio. And he's got like 30 acres. You could pitch a tent in the back if you wanted to. And what's funny is that on his website, he's like, I don't have a shower, but I got a hose, which is like, it's just so, I was like, you're my people. Like, that's it. My favorite part of the whole weekend was, he's got this like unfinished bathroom, but like it's kind of finished. He doesn't have any warm water. And he, his sink in the bathroom is like this fucking nice ass, like, throne sink. It's like beautiful, and it is sitting in a 5-gallon bucket that's on top of 2 cinder blocks. And I was like, Danny, you don't have plumbing in that bathroom, like drainage plumbing, do you? And he was like, no. I was like, what do you do with the water? And he's like, oh, I just dump it in the toilet when it fills up. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the quintessential potter. Like, and he's like, I'm always working on this place, and it's, it's a very modest studio, and it has everything that you need. And he's just a really nice guy, so freaking knowledgeable and like funny, and it was such a good workshop. I am so glad that I got drunk that night. Yeah.
We were trying to play Ticket to Ride that night after, I think so, right?
Yeah, that was the night that we were like, can we play Ticket to Ride? And then I was like, I don't think I can do this.
It died, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. Well, I mean, obviously I could see your influence from the whole history and pottery thing because you're like so deep into reading and looking for books that are all about the history of pottery and like how they started in these different countries and working your way. So I
Yeah.
was like,
I didn't expect that to happen, honestly. It was kind of like, like he makes a ton of tea bowls, and we were kind of talking about like, at first he was really, he didn't really want to make tea bowls, and then just because out of like how important they are, and then he was like, fuck it. And not his words, those are mine. And yeah, and so then I was like, I feel like if I wanted to make tea bowls in the future, because there was also the thing that I really appreciated about him was that I come from a background of like slap pottery essentially, where it's like you make it fast, you make it good, you make it sturdy, like, but don't worry about the details, Like when I was taught how to pull a handle, basically my teacher was pull it, attach it, turn it over, touch it once, forget it. Like don't touch it again. And Danny's like one of those people that like he's like, if I don't have it right, I'm gonna mess with it until it's right. And he doesn't care how long it takes. He's like, this is like the piece that I want to go into the world. And so I'm really happy that I went, mostly because of that, because like I left with this kind of like, oh, maybe I should think about my form a little bit more and function also, but like really about the form. Like what makes a really good pot, Like glaze. But but like maybe I should think about, instead of just doing cylinders, maybe I should do like a nice shape that's like really well thought out. So yeah. I'm happy I went. You should go to one of his workshops.
how did he determine to like, does he do workshops a lot, and are they on site and all that kind of thing?
You cut out.
Does he do a lot of workshops on site in his studio, and like how did you kind of hear about it?
Well, Bear was the one who told me about it. Bear Ullman. He's on Instagram, Chef Bear Bowls. He found it, and he has a Patreon that you can like go and subscribe to, which I definitely recommend. It'd be cool for like, he's like such a cool potter, and like it'd be great to move some money his way. That's what I feel. But yeah, and he just started doing workshops at his own studio, and I think that was mostly the result of COVID. He's been doing workshops for years at other places, but yeah. It was nice. It was great.
Yeah, I don't think I've really traveled for workshops. I've just gone to the ones that are like local to me here at like Queen City Clay or NKU, because the Clay Alliance hosts a workshop like once a year. So I would go to those, but I haven't really traveled to say I have to see this person workshop.
Yeah, it was $475 and it was 4 days, and I feel like it was worth every single penny. And
was it completely, it looked like it wasn't just demo, like you actually made a vase, so that sounds like, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and I could have made so much more too. Like he made a big piece. He made like 3 big pieces. Like we went through a bunch of stuff. We covered tea bowls, we covered handles, we covered mugs, we covered large vases, like 2-part vases. We covered a large pitcher. We covered these things called blow vases, which sounds weird, but it's not. And we covered a big platter. So much stuff was packed in. Like seriously, like the amount of information I got out of college in 4 years was in 4 days, I feel like. And nothing in glazing though. There was not much glazing, but yeah, it was just insane. Like, also, I'm not going to say what his wife made, but his wife made lunch every day, and they're vegetarian, and she is a bomb-ass cook. Like, she is good. And so that was nice. That was lovely.
Nice.
But, yeah, you should, if you are, this is my big, long like I guess support Danny
Advertisement.
advertisement. If you want to do a workshop, he's got one in May and he's got one in July or June, and I definitely 100% recommend it. So I think he's doing a single fire workshop.
What's his website? I'm guessing it's on his website.
Yeah. So it's Danny Meisinger is his Instagram.
And how do you spell it?
DANNYMEISINGER.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's probably good. Yeah, that sounds good.
MEISINGER. Danny Meisinger is the one that he has a ton of followers for. And then his website's linked on his
profile
thingy. So, yeah. It was great. I literally cannot say a bad thing about it. And also, one last thing. He had plenty of opportunity to put down a bunch of potters, and he didn't. He said 0 bad words about anybody. And that is like, he's so wise. And that was like the coolest thing. Like,
nice.
There was no...
Do you feel like that's a common thing for more seasoned potters?
Yeah.
That are 30 years in?
I think that
or just when you get a chance and you're in a small group.
Yeah, like you're in a small group and he has the opportunity to like he had the opportunity to bash a few people and he definitely did not. And you know, you could tell that he was thinking, like you could tell that he chose his words wisely because he's in a position to of authority, and I just really respect that he's so like super level-headed. So that was really cool.
A lot of times I'm just like, people could do what they want to do. Like, it's how they do it. Just like we're going to talk today, and this is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
The end-all, be-all solution for everybody.
Yeah.
And we have different perspectives on like what we want to get out of making what we make and how we sell our stuff and all that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have anything from
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, do you have anything from the random thoughts from people that wanted to say something from the survey?
Oh, I didn't even look at that. So, no.
But
today. Also, I wanted to say there's a new podcast. Did you know there's a new podcast?
No. A new podcast? Are you talking about the one that released from Mud Pillars? Episode with us? Or you're talking about
a new pottery podcast. It's called Potters of Color. Potters of Color
I did
podcast.
Not know that.
Yeah, the person running it, her name is Robbie Lobb, and I think she's only got like 2 episodes out there, and so she's like brand spanking new, from what I understand. And so I hit her up and I was like, hey, we'll make sure to mention it because go follow her, like at least like for sure follow her Instagram, and then look her up on the podcast things.
Is her Instagram the Potters of Color, or is it something else?
Potters of Color podcast is her Instagram, and then Potters of Color 2.0 is her podcast on Apple Podcasts. So I don't know why it's 2.0, but that's okay. Maybe there was a 1.0. But yeah, it was really good, and I recommend listening. So yeah,
nice.
Lots of podcasts coming out, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I haven't really listened to many pottery podcasts lately.
Yeah.
Did you want to look up the survey thing and see if there's anything random on there that you wanted?
Well, you're gonna have to talk first.
And do you want a quick couple short questions that we can answer before we do the art show stuff?
Sure.
All right. Give us 1 second.
Ryan, you weren't supposed to have this ready. This is.
I'm sorry. All right. So, a quick one is, what is your favorite item to make and why? That's an easy one. This is from Queer Babe Pottery.
Okay. What was the question?
Instagram. What is your favorite item to make and why?
I like making wine glasses. Or...
because of their refined design?
Yeah, kind of. I just really like the shape. I do really like the shape because it's mostly a cylindrical shape, and I make a very very similar design for Graves Code. It's her cocktail cup, and I just make them like my wine glass. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I told her I was like, they're not as good as mine, but
Nice.
because I still need my dignity. But yeah,
Plus, you like wine, so
right.
kind of go hand in hand.
What about you?
My favorite piece to make, I kind of changed over time, but right now I would say it's shot glasses, just because I like to turn the wheel on, set the speed, throw, like, just keep it moving.
I do love off the hump.
Work your way, like, that's pretty nice. So, yeah, I made some yesterday. I'm making a set for Nomad, the kind of bar place that the friends of ours own.
Mm-hmm.
That's down in Bellevue, the place that we talked with Kelty in for the podcast. Yeah, so they want some tequila flights that they're gonna have flights of tequila, so they're having me make the little cups for it. So that should be fun.
Huh. Nice.
And then I'm gonna have they want some little like side dishes to put like limes and salt in.
You're gonna have to make some pinch pots.
Yeah, I will.
And to not infuriate all the other potters, pinch pots are a pinch of this, a pinch of that. They're thrown off the hump. They're not pinched. Okay.
I think the mise en place might be good for the salt thing, but I don't know how comfortable I'd feel making those. But I don't know that I have the tools exactly for all that.
Just throw them. It'll be fine. Just throw them.
Yeah. And I got this cool little stamp when I was in Austin.
Yeah.
I think it's the like agave plant, which is like what tequila comes from and stuff, I think. Or it's the tequila plant, whatever that plant is, but it's like a stamp, a wooden block stamp.
Oh, cool.
So I got a nice $2.50 purchase. So I might try that in the little bowls. So I might stamp in the bottom of it with that. So that'll be kind of cool.
Do you want like a funny one, or do you want a question, or do you want a sincere one?
Well, let's do a sincere one. I feel like we always do funny ones.
Okay. Where was it? Oh, okay.
You were like on deck with a funny one. I know it.
No, not really. I feel like there's some really good ones. It says, you guys have a great podcast in large part because you're so different from each other. The respect you have for each other comes through each conversation.
Nice. I like that.
That was really nice. I do respect Ryan a lot. Even though I cut him off sometimes.
I respect you a lot, too. That's all right. I mean, I know I continue to, like, put myself down about, like, I'm here just to get the entertainment out of you, but, like, it is fun doing the back and forth.
Well, I feel like you have a lot to say. Good stuff to say. You definitely keep me grounded, that's for sure. You know what Val said? It took like 3 months for Val to start listening to our podcast, but maybe actually a year. But but Val's like one of my best friends. And Val Flynn Pottery, go look her up because she's awesome. She was like, I was listening to the podcast the other day and you were telling something to Ryan, and I was like, Becca, shut up. Stop talking to him like that.
She was defending me.
And then she was like, Ryan, you don't have to listen to her.
Don't let her talk to you like that.
Stick up for yourself. Yeah. Anyway, love you, Val. Okay, what is our topic for the day?
Okay, so on Instagram, I put out a question looking for some insights from you all about what you want to know about art shows, because we feel like it's pretty timely right now. It's April 1st today, but people are kind of getting in the mode of starting to apply for art shows. They're getting back in after the pandemic's kind of settled down, and they're like, hey, maybe I want to sell some art shows this year. It's possible. They're actually happening. And so we asked for your questions. We got a whole bunch of them. We got some longer questions through comments in a post, and then we got some through a question kind of bubble and stories. So we'll kind of run through a number of these. They're kind of grouped a little bit, so hopefully we can answer them in kind of groupings. So, yeah.
Can you imagine if like you weren't a part of this podcast? We'd have podcasts like what now 2 episodes ago when we switched mid round. That's what every podcast would be like.
Or like the last one that was released. I think that was, we recorded that 2 times ago.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was listening to that back and I was like, I wonder how. See, I thought half of the podcast was talking about the art show in the school and stuff, but it was only an hour. But we recorded for an hour and a half. So I was like, or it was almost 2 hours, but I was like, oh,
yeah,
maybe it was maybe it was more than I thought. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah,
I feel like
I
feel like when I was listening back to that one, I was like, Becca, you should have been more adamant about, like, I don't fucking like college. I was trying to be nice. Listening back, I was like, you softy. Anyway, we want to preface this episode with, this is our experience. We, both of us, don't do super big, like, the top 10 shows of the country. We don't do shows like that.
Yeah, we're not doing like high-end art, fine art shows.
Right.
You're in like a convention center with these black backdrops and
like the
pro panels and stuff.
And like those big oval looking tents and stuff. Like that is a whole nother level that we don't subscribe to. We appreciate them, but we don't know how to do that. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about farm, like for the farmers markets. We're talking about middle shows, like,
like kind of like indie craft shows.
Shows. Weekend shows.
Local stuff with like food and consumables, and then there's like soaps and stuff like that. And then I do some juried shows where there are like fine artists, and then there's also crafters, and there's metal blacksmiths or metal workers and woodworkers, and like I do some juried shows, but also do a lot of kind of craft shows.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
So that's kind of where our perspectives are coming from.
Yeah, and
I've probably done more shows than Becca has, like range of shows.
For sure, absolutely for sure. Like I, the first year that I started doing shows, like I did all the big ones, like not all the big ones, but the bigger shows in like the Seattle area, and then I found Leavenworth Art in the Park and kind of just was like, oh, this is fine.
You're like, I found my crew here.
We'll just stick here.
My sweet spot.
We'll stay here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Where do you want to start?
All right. So we're starting at the, this is kind of the choosing the right shows kind of section. So we'll start off. These are from NZ Design Studios. How do you decide if an art show is worth doing for the first time? Do you rely on word of mouth, jump right in, or go to inspect the show that year to decide if you do it the following year? And are there clues to look for or ask the director before applying? So what I do is pretty much what you said there. And the way that I keep a list on my phone. I started this like in 2016 or something. And I went kind of to Google. Today you could probably go to Facebook and look up Facebook events, but Google's a good option. Just look up art shows Louisville, Kentucky, and see what art shows are happening around town. And usually you can see like a list of events and some kind of like around Louisville or whatever. Like if that city has a list of happenings in that city throughout the year, like you can kind of filter by art, filter by craft, and like just document the name of the show and then put like the time of year that it is. So I'll put like Arts on the Green, and that happens in mid-June, so that I know like chronologically in the year that's when it falls. And then if you have an application date, that's how I might put like apply, application deadline due at this point. And then that's a good way to just keep track of when things are happening in that area. And then you can do the same thing for different cities around you if you're willing to travel But that's what I would do, and I just made that list, and then I would try to go that year, and if it looked good, and the booth fee wasn't too much for me, then I would usually do it the next year. But if you're willing to risk the money, you can apply and do it and try it and see what happens. Like for me, I wouldn't just jump right into like a $200 booth fee if I wasn't sure what was going to happen. If I'd never been there or I haven't like seen the vendor list, a vendor list from the previous year is a good barometer of like looking at the skill sets of what types of clay artists do they have. You know, you can go to their websites usually or look them up on Instagram or whatever. Like that's a good resource.
Also, I would add in there. Well, I have two things. Be a nosy neighbor. Like find somebody at that show if you really want to know. Like find somebody that participated in that show last year, shoot them an email or find them on Instagram, shoot them a message. And I would say maybe don't find somebody in your craft, maybe like a wood turner or maybe not a wood turner because they still have bowls, but like maybe not a jewelry artist,
maybe like a soap person or
yeah, like just somebody random.
Or a
Somebody
painter
random.
or a photographer
That
or something.
Like they're friendly. and shoot them an email and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this show next year. Like I'm doing pottery, you know, not in your medium. Do you recommend it or do you not recommend it, you know? That's a good way to do it. Also, I got really, really lucky the first year that I did shows, and there was actually a book. I found a book.
A book?
Yeah.
A physical book?
Yes. I shit you not. And that's the only reason I found Leavenworth Art in the Park. There was a book that had, it was like it was basically a craft show book. And it was from...
Was it like based on that city or something? So it had just a list of shows for customers?
It was all of Washington.
Oh.
And so somebody made a book and it had all the shows from April to like October. And it was such a great guide because I just kind of like flipped through it and then found a bunch of shows. And like I said, I would never found Leavenworth Art in the Park. Now, I didn't actually I looked at it and saw it, but then I actually met somebody later and he was like, no, for sure you need to go to that show. Also, if you've done other shows, make sure you're asking people in those shows, ask them what other shows they do. You know?
Yeah.
That's a really good way to find out too, because like if you befriend another potter and I'm like, dude, like, do you have any recommendations on shows? That's how I found Art in the Park. Thank God the director didn't judge me because the guy that recommended it got kicked out, but you know, it's fine.
Yeah, so that ties into Jess Con 0202's question. How do you find and choose a show that will work well for you, and what is the application process like? The other option you could do, you could go to like Zapplication if you're applying for like a juried show. Go to Zapplication. It's a online applying software, and that's where you would normally apply for shows, pay for booth fees, have your portfolio of pictures and stuff, and you can filter it by state. You could filter it by medium, I think, or something like that, or like time of year, I think, and then you could just pick and see like chronologically what shows are happening, and they'll usually say like, you know, we have these different mediums. This is our X number of year. We have this many people that come to the show. And that's a good way to like figure it out as well. But yeah, the best way to like figure out if it'll work for you, looking at the best for me is to look at a vendor list. If I can see that gives me a good look at like what types of things are they selling. It's not like a bunch of like MLM bullshit, and it's not, but it's like craft or it's like art, and I can see the other clay people. If they're local, if it's a show local to me, I'll probably see some familiar clay names in there, and I'll be like, hey, these 3 people were in there. What do I think of their work? How do they sell generally? Like, are they a full-time artist? Are they part-time?
Am I better?
Have decent work? Like, how would I kind of stack up against them? What did you say?
I said, am I better?
Am I better than them? Yeah. But if you have a good clay community there and you know a lot of people, if you know one of those people, like, hopefully you have a decent enough relationship you can ask them.
Yeah.
if they're friends of yours, and be like, hey, I saw you did this show. How was it? Would you recommend it? Was it worth the booth fee? Stuff like that.
And if they're not willing to give you the answer, you don't need to ever talk to them again. You don't need that type of negativity in your life.
What about the application process? How have you applied for shows for your set of shows you've done?
I feel like I've so okay. I've stuck to really basic shows. Like I don't typically also side note, everywhere I live there's a train right next to it. So here we are.
I know, what the hell? Like, you can't leave the train. You just need it to rock you to sleep or something.
I know. I know. Like it was a block away in my old place. It's like less than a block away here. I've always lived next to a train.
They're like, is this apartment building adjacent to a train track? All right,
It'll work.
I can live there.
Okay, so yeah, I feel like I've kind of like chosen really weird shows. I have been lucky in the sense of some shows people have asked me to be in them. So that's good.
Is that like the promoter asks you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And like like especially in Monroe, I know everybody in Monroe, so like you know, at the church shows that I used to do, I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna be in the show, okay? And they'd be like, sweet. And then I'd hand them $25, you know. But
Right.
so yeah, I've been really lucky, and I feel like I'm not super qualified for this. Now, the only show,
Yeah.
so Leavenworth, you do have to do an application, but they're super old school. And so it's a paper application. You write down your information, and then you have to send in 3 to 5 pictures, and you have to print them out at Walgreens.
That's so old school.
and you have to email it in or mail it in. Yeah, they do not accept digital photography. So,
Oh my gosh. The only more old school than that is this one in Cincinnati that they just moved his application 2 years ago. They had actual like interviews that you had to bring yourself and your pieces with you and like interview to show them to the jurors.
wow.
That was like so old school. They did have a digital way, which I always did because I couldn't attend that like interview day. So you could like email your photos, or I think I had to put them on a CD and mail it.
A CD. A CD.
Yes. Like instead of
love
sending a
that.
flash drive, you put it on a CD with like 3 pictures in your application, and that's about it.
Yeah, I feel like especially with the first time with Art in the Park, like I got a call from Mary and she was like, so how do you know this person, the person that recommended me? And I was like, oh no, I don't know him. She's like, okay, great. So and then
They were like, he's my best friend.
and she was
okay.
like,
I don't know if
okay,
this is gonna work.
we don't have a Potter, so you're in.
That's great.
Like, I don't
That's
know, I've
great.
just gotten kind of lucky that way. I feel like I haven't gone through the weeds with the application process.
Yeah. I would say the applications for me have varied. It's kind of in like 3 different scales. The smallest is like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
There's no application. There's no formal application there. I had to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm a local potter. I live really close to you, and I'm interested in your farmer's market. So you kind of make that contact with them through their contact form on their website or their contact email or whatever.
Right.
And you make the connection, and then you're just like, hey, can I get on the mailing list? And that's kind of the most basic form of it. And then they'll reach out, and now we have a relationship, and they send out things to their local artisans, and you know, they have spots that are available that week. You fill them up first come first serve, and you'll probably do it that Saturday. So like, I'm not really applying, I'm just showing up because they already know my work and stuff. And then I pay $25 that day, and that's kind of all there is to it.
Right.
And then the second set is more like the indie market, but also the like monthly markets that are not juried, but they're not like a high-end art show. They're like a one-time, you're either going to pay like 50 to 90 bucks for the day, probably.
Yeah.
And those are generally, you go on their website, you fill out their form, which is name, business name, medium, what's your Instagram account, what's your website, so they can like do the research on your social stuff.
Yeah.
To like see what your work looks like instead of doing the whole submit photos and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like you just give them the links to your stuff, and then you generally those won't have an application fee, or if they do, it's like $5 to $10. It's not a big application fee,
Right.
and usually it's a one-time thing. So like you do one-time application fee for the whole season, and you like pick and choose which days or which months that you want to do that season. So that's kind of how they do it, and then they'll just invoice you once they pick their lineup for those months or whatever. And then the third level is the juried thing, where they have their jury deadlines. You know, right now there's a show that's happening in August, and the deadline is at the end of April or something like that.
Right.
So it's happening in August, almost September, and the deadline's right now, which is what, 6 months away? 5 months away.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're doing juried shows that are on Zapplication, it's going to be pretty common that you're going to be applying at least 4 months out, probably 5 months out.
That answers Liz Cohen's question, which is basically like how far out do you need to book or apply, and that I would say like 6 months is a good guesstimation.
And I mean right now I've got a list of shows on my calendar, or on, like, I keep it in a note. This might be good for people. So what I do is let's say the first step is I have that list of all of the shows in the different cities adjacent to me. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's my first set. That's where I started in 2016. I made this entire list, and I added to the list as I heard about more shows. And I go in, I try a few of those, I apply for a few of those, I do them, and then I'm like, I make them bold so that I can see that I did them already. And then I build a list of like what shows I'm doing this year. So that's going to be a subset of that bigger list. And then what I'll do inside the shows for this year, I'll kind of indent them. So like the further I indent them to the right, the like less set in stone they are. So like if they're really far to the right, then I haven't applied for them yet, but I have them on my radar that I want to do them. So like I can see them in the chronologically within the year that I want to do it, and how it relates to the shows around it in that month. And then if I've applied for it, I'll indent it like one level less, and I'll like italicize it or whatever that I've applied for it, and I'm just waiting to hear back if I got in or not. And then the furthest to the left are like bold and like, hey, I'm in this show, it's on the calendar, it's set in stone. And then that's when I'll put it on my like Apple calendar, so it's like Rachel knows about it, so we don't like plan something else, and she knows about it in case she has to help me at it or whatever. So that's kind of how I organize them and how I kind of plan out my year. But like you gotta plan early. It's not like a 1 month out. It's not like right now I'm planning for, I gotta figure out what shows I'm gonna do in May. Like that's too late.
Yeah, get on it. That answers the watering can pottery like to a T. I'm not going to read it because it was so long, but it was basically everything I just said.
I knew that was in there. But yeah, when you do that list of the shows for the year, throw in there the name of the show, the date of when the show happens, and then I throw in anything pertinent like when is the application due. Mm-hmm. So it's not so hard to keep up with, because throwing that on my calendar of when applications are due is like too busy. If I have it all in one place, it's easier to keep track.
Also, I wanted to add in, this is kind of on subject, like a little bit back. So we were talking about how to find shows and stuff too. There are some websites that are specifically for finding art shows. So you can look those up on Google. Like you just type in your region and it has like all the art shows in the whole country. So.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. There's one that Potter near me that told me about. It's a paid one though.
Yeah, you have to pay for it.
Like art fair. It's more like art fair reviews.
Yeah.
There's a Facebook group called Art Fair Reviews. That's an option. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of like high-end art shows, but there are some smaller ones on there that you could search. But yeah, there
also,
are paid versions. I'm not sure.
When we're talking about high-end art shows versus regular art shows, if Ryan was going to one of these shows, it would be the difference between like $5,000 to $10,000, and because they're selling like high-end art, clearly, and and like $1,000 to $3,000 for a show. So yeah,
You're talking about what you're making?
yeah, typically what you're making.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really general. Obviously, it could be different for everybody, but like, you know, a lot of people when they go to these high-end art shows, they're like, if I don't make 10 grand, I didn't do good. So
Yeah, you could also say based on booth fee. Like a lot of those high-end ones are typically like $300 and more for a booth, like $300 to like, you know, $900 or $1,000, like $300 plus for a booth, $350 plus. Yeah. And like the middle range juried ones are probably $150 to like $300, I would say. Which is kind of my sweet spot of like if I'm doing a juried one, like that's kind of where
I've paid $600 for a show. The
Really?
the U District Street Fair was $600. Yeah. And I remember that was the weekend where I like went and I had done Leavenworth for like 3 weeks, and I went to the U District Street Fair and I was like, fuck this. I think I had other shows and I was like, I'm just canceling them. I was like, nope, I'm sticking with Leavenworth.
So you did it. Was it like a 2 or 3 day thing, or?
Yeah, it was like a 2-day show, and I made like less money than I would have in Leavenworth. So I was like,
really? And Leavenworth is a lot more hands off because of the way that the show flows and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on. Oh, what questions should we ask the promoter before getting into one? Into a show.
I don't really ask a lot of questions. The only thing that I would say I've asked before, if it's one of those newer shows that you're not really sure about, like a church show or like this group that has this show that they're throwing that they haven't done, or like there's no documentation of like a website of what this event is like, I'll usually ask, are there other potters that have sold in this, or can you give me an idea of the other vendor types of what they sell? That'll be a pretty good gauge of like, are people going to actually appreciate what I'm making here,
right?
Or is it going to be like they're looking for something cheap?
Yeah,
like a lower craft show.
Yeah,
you know, that's really the only thing I've asked of the promoter.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that too.
I just feel like the promoters probably have so many things that they're juggling that I don't know that. Maybe I'm just not thinking of what type of questions others could ask, but usually they're pretty good about documenting all the stuff that happens with the show. And if you could see photos of previous years, that's a good gauge for you.
Yep.
All right. Did we answer everything in that kind of grouping?
I feel like we did.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the next one is about prepping for upcoming shows. So, any recommendations for helpful supplies when doing an outdoor market? What do you think? You do these outdoor ones. You've had some bad wind issues.
I've got lots of recommendations.
All right. What about baseline, like essentials?
Okay.
First.
Baseline essentials. Tent. You need a tent. Okay, now let's talk about tents. So you can get the shitty tents, you can get the less shitty tents, you can get a very good tent, and then you can get the best tents. So shitty tents, $150 and less. Okay.
That's like a Quest tent from
Walmart.
Like Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
The angled legs, and it's got like a colored top on it.
I feel like that. No, don't even fucking get an angled leg.
Don't get that. That was my very first tent I got.
No.
Don't get that.
Don't be like Ryan. Don't do that.
Spend $50 more and get a better tent.
I've never said that before. Usually it's like, don't be like Becca. Right.
No, I was just saying, like, that's the baseline.
I know, but this is a momentous moment where I just said, "Don't be like Ryan." Anyway,
but you just said momentous moment. You don't say that.
I did say that, and I will say that. Anyway, okay. A basic shitty tent is just an easy up, like a cheap one though, like an off-brand easy up. Make sure your top is always white. Do not get a blue fucking tent.
What's the reason for that?
The reason is because you have art and light reflects off of white. And if you have any other color than white, then that color will move down into your tent and skew the colors of the pieces.
And it just darkens your tent
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, a lot.
The white really keeps it airy and like bright.
Yeah. Okay, so then we move up to like the Costco business tent where you can get it at Costco, and it's a little bit better quality. I believe they have, I want to say it's like,
What makes them better than that? Is it the material that the legs are made out of? And
Yeah.
it's not like a painted coated like metal. It's like
yeah.
it's like a stainless steel or something that's more sturdy.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the mid-range tents are the ABC canopy pop-ups. Like that's one that comes to mind. Like I had a lot of friends that had those. Those have pretty decent legs. You can get them on Amazon. Let's see how much they are on Amazon. $219.
I got a basic Amazon one that I used for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, like
that was white. I think I spent like $115 for it. That's my baseline that I would say you could get.
Yeah.
But that's one that the legs will rust like over time because they sit in the grass and
yeah, $219. I like to find ones that have pull tabs instead of the push tabs because they tend to break less. Like to move the legs down.
yeah.
Also, you want to get sides. You want to make sure you get sidewalls for everything. Okay, then your next level of tent is going to be an easy up.
Do you want the sidewalls even if you're not doing overnight shows, if you're
Yes.
doing a one-day show?
Always
Okay.
get your sidewalls. Like, always have the sidewalls just in case. Like, just in case.
Is that for weather conditions or is that to level set so you don't confuse your customers that are inside your tent looking through?
You
other
never know.
tents?
You really never know what it could be for. I've dropped my sidewalls because people were getting blinded by the metalwork guy next to me, but I've also dropped them because it was windy. So
Yeah.
and also who knows if you need to drop them for wind or not. Like wind is just its own thing. And then the next level up is, which I would not recommend unless you are like, you can usually get away with like the $200 to $300 tent. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're like committed.
The people that are committed are not listening to us for advice about art shows.
You never know.
Maybe.
But I mean, like, if you're committed, like, you're going to do, like, 30 shows in a year. Like, you do, like, 30 shows in a year.
Yeah, but
You do a shit ton
I
of
mostly
shows.
pick my tent. I mostly pick my tent based on the car capacity that I have as well. That's a big factor. Like, I'm not doing the pole bullshit for 30 shows for the number of shows I do because the setup is a lot more efficient with the tent that I have.
But, like, yeah, not the poles. But, like, you know, the next step up, other than $200, is, like, an easy up that's, like, $600. So, I think mine were, like, $700 each, and I got 2 of them at the time, and they're made of stainless steel. They're a bit heavy. They're like 70 pounds a piece, and but they're sturdy. And the tent canopy is like this really nice material, and it's just like super fucking good. And then the sidewalls are super high, like they're super durable, and they're just like, you can tell that
So that it sounds like it's more for the the weather factor.
yeah.
Like they're holding up to blazing in the sun, but also like heavy rain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna rip through the canopy or something.
Well, yeah, and it's not
on the
like
corners.
it's not like, you know, sometimes those $200 tents have like a tarp material. These are like canvas. They're like white canvas, and they're like heavy duty. You know,
Yeah.
the zippers are like nice, like, you know.
Yeah. They're not skimpy and
not
they're gonna
skimpy.
bend or something.
The next step up, and so those are what I would recommend if you're looking, like if you have a little bit more room than Ryan, but you also are doing like, you're gonna plan on doing a bunch of shows. If it's an investment that you make, you know. Also, with Easy Up, you can choose the tent leg colors. And it's no extra charge.
You have green tent legs and you have orange tent legs.
I do. I have green and orange ones. And Mary was like, I don't care what color your legs are. You just have to have them to be a white top. And I was like, yes.
Nice.
And then the super fancy tents are those like Everlast or whatever, the ones with the ovals. Those are like the legit ones. So My face is bleeding.
I think mine's a Euramax.
Euromax, yeah.
Mine's not mine's not like the basic level one. It's the next step up. It has hexagonal legs on it.
Oh yeah, those are nice.
So the poles aren't square; they're actually a hexagon.
Yeah, those are sturdy.
Saw a friend of mine that had one of those, so that's why I got them, because the legs are more sturdy in that fashion. So,
also, always set up your tent before the first show of the year in your driveway.
Yes, I made that mistake talking about last year's show where I showed up and I didn't even have the fucking top to it.
I didn't either.
Rachel had to bring it.
You remember when
You're like, I'm good, but I forgot the top to it.
You remember when I showed up to Leavenworth and I didn't have the tops to both of my tents, and so we set up the tent. Like, my tent needs to be set up in order to, like, if the frame
from it
is supporting the shelves,
right?
And so we just set up the fucking tent, and it was like see-through, and Mary comes in and she was like, Mary's the director of art in the park, and she comes in and she's like, this is nice.
I like it.
And she's like, it's so sunny. I had to bribe one of my friends to go get my tent toppers, and then somebody that I had no idea who they were came and dropped them off, and I handed them 2 mugs.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. What other essential supplies?
Sorry, that was like a long thing about tents, but the tent's the most important thing. You need weights. So
yes,
there's a couple ways you can go about this. Do not, I repeat, do not fill up milk jugs with water.
I did those at my first like 3 shows.
Don't be that person. Just don't. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can buy 3 or 4 inch PVC pipes and fill them up with...
Hey, what would you rather have? Would you rather have 2 milk jugs filled with like sand or rock pebbles? Or would you rather have that person that puts those little semicircle discs on their feet of their tent?
Oh yeah,
and that's all they have are those 5-pound weights. Or 10-pound weights.
General rule of thumb, you want 25 pounds at least on each leg. At least. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can get a PVC pipe, 3 foot or 3 inch PVC pipe. Get the cappers on the bottom. It just looks better. And then fill it up with cement. Drill first. You can fill it up with the post cement.
Mine's a 4-inch. Mine's a 4-inch one, but that's like a 35-pound probably.
So fill it up with post cement. Here's a trick. While it's still wet, drill in 3-inch screws periodically in it so that it never comes out. And then stick a little, an eye hook on the top. And then all you got to do is bungee it to your leg and then bungee it to...
The thing I would recommend putting a handle on the side of it if you can.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I regret not having a handle because it's so awkward to pick them up.
Yeah.
And I've cracked these things, like they're about due to be replaced actually. But
yeah.
Put a handle on the side, drill a handle in the side if you can, like a metal handle.
Yeah. Yes. So that's a really good option. Tons of people have those. You can also find really heavy rebar posts sometimes at like metal workings where they're like 4 feet tall and they're like only about 2 inches around, but they're sleek, and so they can just bungee right to your tent leg. Those are nice. What I have done, which sounds really risky, but it's never done me wrong, so I wouldn't recommend this on traveling shows, is I have had dry bags, like the ones that you go kayaking with, and we would just fill them up with water and hook them up to the tent. But keep in mind, my tent is weighed down with 2 shelves and a shit ton of pottery, so it's not going anywhere. I've already had that happen once. So that works. Or you can get dry bags and fill them up with like sand or concrete even,
Yeah, there's some bags. I've got some that are in the basement that you Velcro. It's like those kind of tubular shaped bags that you put sand in, and you could Velcro them to the legs. So I don't know how much they would hold. They would probably hold 25 to 30 pounds.
Yeah, those are
sand,
good. So there's a lot of different options you can do. You just need to make sure they're Velcroed. You want to make sure that they're connected to the bottom, but also connected to the top of your frame too. So that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people miss, is that you should be bungeeing them to your frame leg, but you should also be connecting them to your frame top. And the reason being is if you do hit a high wind, it's a little bit easier for the leg to pop out of that. But if the top is hooked on, it kind of keeps it a little bit more grounded. So,
Yeah.
and I just use, okay, so on that, you want to make sure you have bungee cords, ball bungee cords, not the long ones. You want to get the short ones. You can use those.
Ball bungee cords are dangerous.
Ball bungee cords, yeah. When you snap those together, make sure you look away.
Oh my god. Rachel's hit herself in the shin a number of times. I've hit myself in the shin a number of times.
Yeah.
You go limping away like you think you're done for the day.
Yeah. My friend knows somebody that literally lost an eye to a ball bungee. Like, went blind in one eye. So, yeah, so ball bungee cords, make sure they're the short, like 6-inch ones, not the really long ones, because then you're just working too hard. You can also use those when you roll up the sides of your tent. You can use those to, to put them up. Let's see what else.
Tablecloths, tables. I don't.
Yeah, I was just thinking structural right now, but ratchet straps are good.
What are the ratchet traps for?
To secure it to the top of your frame. Your weight.
Secure your weight to the top. Yeah.
Those are nice. I mean, you can use bungees too, but I like ratchet straps. Okay, so that's it for structural, I feel. And then tables.
What kind of tables?
I only have one table, and it's a 4-foot table in the back. What about you?
Is it like a Lifetime foldable table, like a hard top plastic?
Yeah, that's a lie. I have a 1 4-foot table, and then I have one kitty Lifetime table that you can get at Costco. Those are the shit. They're 2 feet by 2 feet, and they're really short. They're awesome.
What do you use that for? Your checkout stand, or?
Yeah, I put my paper on it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the fold in half. They're black. Plastic. I think I got them at Walmart, maybe. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm space saving and stuff. So
yeah,
I gotta be able to fit them in the car. You definitely have to be able to fold my tables in half so I can get them in there. So I think those are 6-foot tables. So I use 2 of those, and then sometimes I will bring out my 4-foot table that is white topped. It's plastic, and then it's got the legs that can adjust from shorter to 30-inch to 36-inch.
That's what I have.
Sometimes I'll play with that one too.
Yeah, those are nice because you can lift them higher. And a tablecloth is really good. I don't like black tablecloths, but that's because I'm not suited for art shows.
Yeah, I have the black ones. They can get dirty, but I'm not really a lot of other potters and stuff will use white or burlap or I'm not really that vibe. So
just whatever.
But yeah, you can get kind of whatever. I would say make sure it goes down to the ground.
Yep. Use a black
because
sheet.
If it's short and you can see your bins and stuff under it, you don't want that. You want to clear out or remove any distractions. So get it down to the ground. Mm-hmm. So it'll cover up your bins and all that are under your table.
Yeah. My setup, I also feel like we should, God, we need to start adding more pictures and stuff to our Instagram when we release these shows. We need to remember to do that. My setup is significantly different than Ryan's. So keep that in mind.
I'm more the tables with the stuff on top of the tables and a mug rack hanging from a bar on the tent.
Yeah.
So
and I have
that's my setup.
And I have a 10 by 20 setup, and I have 2 shelving units on each side. So they're 12 inches by 6 feet tall, and they have 7 shelves on them that are all wood. And then I have one hanging table in the middle that hangs off of the frame, also weighing down the booth. So yeah. So keep that in mind. We have a very different setup, so that's gonna affect a lot of things. Oh, also another structural thing. I found that it's really helpful to have zip ties. Like, you never know when you need
Yeah.
a zip tie, you know, and a power cord, a zip tie and a power cord.
Power cord like a external battery charger for your phone?
No,
Is
like
that what you mean?
no, no, like an extension cord. Sorry, an extension cord.
Why?
It's always
I
good to
feel like
have
I never have power.
Oh,
I feel like I never have access to power at the show. Like I do not expect to have any access to power.
well, it's always good to have it when you can get it. So I
Yeah,
always
keep it in your car.
yeah, I always keep an extension cord. So I don't know why. I just always do. Okay. Anything else? Roll of tape, paper for packing, a notebook
Yeah.
for writing down sales and stuff.
Or your phone or
yeah, that works.
cash. I mean, definitely have cash on you. Somebody asked about the best card swiper. Do you have any preferences? I use Square.
I prefer
but
Square.
We probably both have Square. I like it because of the analytics interface and the all of that thing. I don't know how PayPal's it works. I would assume it's pretty much the same as how your PayPal works now. You just get a swiper and it adds it as a new piece of activity on your PayPal account. I don't know that they have analytics and like items and stuff like that. Maybe they do.
Yeah. Also, Etsy has a swiper as well. That a lot of people don't know that. But if you do have an
I
Etsy
didn't know
shop,
that.
you can get an Etsy swiper, and that way, if you do swipe something, like you can take it directly off of your inventory, which is kind of nice. The reason I use Square is also because of the analytics interface, but more importantly, when I was doing shows in Washington is a state where you have to charge taxes according to every single county. It's not just a state tax. So, as far as accounting goes, Square, you can put in different tax codes and the amount, and it's really easy to switch it up. And when I was starting, PayPal didn't have that option, and it was really hard to do the bookkeeping in PayPal. So that's why I never used PayPal.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't really think about that.
But I will.
Yeah, I have the Kentucky and I have the Cincinnati and stuff like that.
I will say, however, that PayPal is completely private. So if you wanted to be a questionable individual and didn't want anybody to know how much money you made at a show, PayPal's the way to go. I'm just saying.
And then I don't know the other swipers out there. I'm sure there are other ones. And actually, you mentioned the integration. You can integrate Square with your Etsy shop too.
Oh, good. Sweet. Yeah. I think that QuickBooks has one. It's whatever. But they could charge a lot.
I feel like Square is the most well-known and most standard out there that people use.
I agree. And it's trusted too. Like, people are like, oh, it's Square. I think Clover is one of them too, but that's usually just for retail.
Right. This is a good question. Do you see the next one? Tell me one thing you wish you brought or did your first market, and one thing that you did that wasn't really necessary.
Oh my gosh, I've got mine.
Goodwill Ceramics. What do you got?
Okay. This is the thing that I held on for the longest time, and I'm so glad that I changed. So I used to get newspapers and recyclable materials to pack all of the pottery in when I would go to shows, and I would just have like a bin of newspapers, and it was so messy. And like,
is that what you packed your pots in too when you like went to the show?
No.
And that's what you used, or
no, that's just what I packed to like give to people, and it was like,
okay,
it's just like newspapers from
right.
the doctor's
So you
office
go to pack
would save
stuff up
theirs.
and you just pull out the big bundle of newspaper and start wrapping.
And I don't know, maybe year 2, I realized that buying a roll of paper is the best way you can go, in my personal opinion.
It's so consolidated, and it's like, it's nice and clean. You can choose how big it is because you pull it out and you rip it where you want.
It's just like the perfect size, and it's perfect. I recommend 18 inches, not 24. It fits it better on a table, and it also fits sideways on one of those 4-foot tables. But yeah, that was one of the things that I was like, I'm going to recycle all of my materials. And then after like a year, I was like, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this. This is terrible. And then all I do now is just throw the roll of paper in and it cuts it and it's perfect. Like, make sure you get the stand too, because that's really important.
You're talking about the ones that are like, it's kind of like butcher paper,
Yeah.
and it's got the heavy doodle duty metal stand.
A heavy doodle metal
stand.
Yeah.
Where you do the like rip the and you rip
exactly.
it up. Okay.
Yeah. And it looks so much better when you're packing. It looks so much better. It looks great in like a craft paper, you know.
I use a mini version of that and shittier paper. So I get the masking paper from Lowe's, which is what you would like tape off windows with if you're painting, and you would like painter's tape that to the windows and stuff. So I use that. It's like a thinner-ish brown paper, and I think the roll is 14 or 16 inches wide. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of made this contraption cardboard kind of box to hold it in, and then I kind of pull it out and then I rip it. So the box kind of contains it so that the roll can't just fall and like start rolling out everywhere. And that just sticks down in the bag that I keep all of my paper bags in. So that's what I use. It's like most of the stuff I'm selling are like mugs and bowls and stuff. I'm not selling huge things, and I'm not selling like 6 pieces at once. But if I am, I just use more of that paper.
Yeah.
But that works for me.
You're a cheap ass. That's
like I have a big roll of the brown paper that you're talking about, but it's so big that it would take up space. Like I could, if I took it to a show, it would be really big and like bulky.
Yeah.
Because it's like the size of one of my tent weights, you know?
Oh, it's like a 24-inch roll, like not You got to get the 18 to 12.
And I don't have the metal stand either, so I feel like that would take up
for sure
like good real estate in my car that I don't know that I'm willing to give up. But I can see the benefit of like pulling it out and stuff and ripping.
Yeah. Well, what's your answer?
The one thing I wish I brought or did, I will go with the thing that wasn't really necessary. I would say bringing more than you need and like putting out everything you have. Don't feel like you have to do that. Like, it's overwhelming to customers to see the shelf completely full of everything. Mm-hmm. I used to think, oh, the more things I put out, that's the more options that people can pick from. I only need them to pick one thing that they like in that whole gamut of pieces that they see that gravitate to for them to buy. So I think like 100 pieces out, what are the chances of them buying one? It's better if they have 100 pieces out than if they have 50 pieces out. For one, it's just easier on the eyes to see fewer pieces. Some people need less choice.
That's true.
And I put out everything. So that's the thing I wish that wasn't really necessary. Wish I brought or did the first market. Probably, I don't know that I went around and talked to people as much or like looked at my like peers as much. Like, I would say do that. Like, you're totally a sponge in that in that aspect of your first market that you could take in so much, and it's a good kind of thing to do.
Oh my gosh. And it like there is nothing.
Get there early.
Get
there early and set up your booth and go walk around.
Yeah, there's nothing like the community that you get from a show. Even if it's one that you only do once a year and you see that one person that you made a connection with and you're like, hey, like, how you doing? Like,
see you next year. Yeah.
You know, there's nothing like that. It's just so pure. It's great. Let's see. The one thing that I wish, the one thing that wasn't really necessary, I think, the amount of stuff that you bring. Like, I can pack everything everything that I bring that's not pottery and not booth setup fits in one tote, and that includes all of my bags. So, no, that's two totes, because one of them is my sides and my bungee cords and stuff like that, and then one tote is like my bags and my tape gun and my notebook and maybe lotion and stuff like that. And like, it's just in one tote and it's super compact. And I think that it was like all over the place. And also I brought cardboard and that fell apart. And so, yeah, I I feel like I just brought way too much stuff, and that wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I like the consolidating too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know exactly where things go in your car when you're packing,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be able to fit everything back in there if you don't put it in the right spot.
Right. Oh, you have an SUV and I have a van. We should also keep
Yes.
that in mind.
I have a Nissan Rogue
He has a Nissan
that
Rogue.
has, the seats flip down and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have a third row. I'm very bare bones.
And I had a for the first couple years, the very first.
Did you ever pack in your Forester
Yep.
or anything?
The very first shows I did in my Forester, but then really quickly I got a, God, what was it? A Chrysler? I forgot what it was called. One of those like minivans. It was a minivan, but like the '90s version. The the squarish one. I don't know, but it wasn't as big.
I don't know what you're not describing it very well. The van that is squarish, that was from the 90s.
It wasn't as big as a like a Dodge Ram, but it was wasn't as small.
Dodge Ram is a truck.
Excuse me, Dodge Ram van is a van.
There's a Ram van?
Yeah, I have a Ram. That was my last van.
Oh, the older version.
Yeah.
Dodge Ram doesn't make a van now.
No.
They used to have one. Okay.
No, but oh shit, I'm sorry. That was a long pause.
It's all right. You don't have to remember. It's a van.
It was a
Okay,
van.
so you
And
have
now in the past couple of years I've had a Dodge Ram van that is very large. So it holds everything that I need to. Plus
yeah,
myself.
you're not limited on space in that.
No, but that's long gone too. Sad days. Bye, Rusty.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know?
Liz wants to know how much inventory you need if it's your first time doing a particular show.
As much as you make.
As much as you want. I would preface this with, is it a one-day show? Is it a two-day show?
Mm-hmm.
Is it in your local vicinity? If it's a one-day show and it's local to you, bring whatever you can fit in your car.
Yeah.
And whatever can fit under your tables, and have stock there to pull from. I definitely keep backstock of mugs for sure. Some backstock of shot glasses and spoon rests. That way, those pieces that sell a lot of, I can restock at the booth. They're under the table and I can restock those. If it's a 2-day show or something like that and it's local to you, leave some stuff at home, but the same kind of thing. Fill up your car. If you go home that night, take some more stuff with you if you need it. If you're out of town, I would say take as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because, if you're not going back home, you're going to miss out on... Yeah, if you've never done it, though, how do you kind of gauge what you should be taking and what you shouldn't? I feel like you should kind of know what are your best sellers.
Well, do a booth setup before. Do a practice booth in a garage or in your driveway. And then, set it up. And you just want to make sure it looks full, you could go with 12 pieces. You don't want to, clearly. But,
Yeah, you don't want to sell out and be twiddling your thumbs.
You don't want to sell out, but just make sure it looks full, not overwhelming, and then kind of see how much that is, and then do it accordingly. I started when I was doing sponge holders. I made 30 sponge holders and maybe 50 shot glasses and 20 mugs, 30 mugs. Couple vases, big items. It's always good to have the big items that you think you're never going to sell, but people are like, oh, that's really cool. And they're really inconvenient, but they're cool.
It's good to put those up on the top shelves so people kind of look at that and maybe they're like, oh, how much is that? And then they're like, oh, $120.
Yeah, so
no thanks. And then they kind of gradually go their way down to something that's affordable.
Yeah,
maybe.
So I would say probably 100 pieces is a good start.
Yeah. Would you say, you also mentioned selling, or I mentioned selling out or whatever. For me, the goal is not to sell out. I don't ever expect to sell out. If I sell out a complete show, I am in deep shit because I would be completely drained because I do 25 shows a year or whatever.
Well, I think that
I can't sell out a show.
If you sold out, it's a great thing because then you don't have to do the next show. But yeah, no, I that's never really my goal to sell out. It's to sell a lot, that's good. But also, I have a very different experience with shows because I would do a show every single week. So I'm already on a schedule of like making things. So I would make about 50 to 100 pieces a week to bring to my show.
But you have more than 100. Have more than that as your only stock. You have probably 200 pieces
300.
or 250 or something. You know, yeah.
Yeah, so like at a show when I was at my peak in a 10 by 20 booth, I would have about 300 pieces. Pretty standard. That's not including mise en place and shot glasses because that's 75 a piece each. Easy. Oh, God, there's probably 150 to 300 mise en place just by themselves.
Yeah, if I'm not counting shot glasses, I would probably still count spoon rest, but I would probably say I'm at about 150 pieces in a booth.
Yeah.
If I include shot glasses, probably like 200.
Yeah. Oh, we kind of answered the next questions. When doing an art festival weekend, what does your beginning inventory look like? Yeah. What?
Yeah, Shelby's more of a functional plotter, so she makes stuff kind of like what we do.
Okay, so
yeah. She's kind of smaller batch though.
Okay.
But,
so yeah, I would always have like what I had the week before, and then I go home and crank out a bunch of stuff, and I bring probably 50 to 100 pieces, and then kind of mix that in, sell what I have, and then come back. And it is good also to like during the summer, I don't unpack all of my pots. Do you unpack all your pots?
What do you mean, like onto my shelves in my
No, like when you go
studio?
home from a show.
I keep them in my.
When you go home from a show and you pack up all your pots to take them home, you're not unpacking them from totes.
No. They stay in the totes, and I refill the totes with shelf stock.
Yeah, so they stay in the totes, and so there's like. It's like a sourdough bread. Like, you have your starter for your first week, and then you just keep those in the totes, and then you kind of just add to that every week. And then
then you see those pieces that just stick around and never leave the tote.
And then you put those in the second bin.
Can we get rid of this?
Yeah, it never really dwindles down, so it kind of... It doesn't feel overwhelming unless it's the first week. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really... The number of pieces in the beginning inventory, it's hard to say you need this number of pieces, but for me, I probably have 50 to 70 mugs. Probably 75 or so mugs. And that gives me enough to have out as well as to refill. Mm-hmm. And then, shot glasses, I probably have 50 or so. Spoon rests, I probably have about 50 maybe. Oil bottles, I have about 25, 30 maybe. Probably 20 something. And then, bowls. Historically, I haven't had a ton of bowls, so I might have 25 bowls. Like, I don't sell a ton of bowls, so. And then I might have a handful of planters and stuff like that are smaller.
This is kind of like making me a little bit depressed. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, God, I'm so gonna miss, like, not doing shows. I fucking love shows.
You need to come to the Backyard Show. You need to do some shows in Cincinnati.
I know, but, like, it's not the same.
You don't have the stock, right?
I don't have the stock, but it's also just not the same. And it's just, like, I guess that, like, just now in this, like, moment, I was like, God, it's the end of an era. Like, it's the end of a Becca era. And it makes me a little bit sad. Okay, moving on. I'm still glad that we're doing this because I do love talking about this. How many pieces do you need? We already answered that. How do you charge people? We kind of already answered that.
Yeah, Square Reader or cash. I would say if you're definitely have a Square Reader, have something you can take credit cards because typically 60% of my sales average are credit cards. Yeah. Probably 70%, but yeah.
Also, it's really nice to have not your phone for a credit card reader. P.S. It's really handy to have like an alternative iPad or something like that if you can. A ton of people do it on your phone, but I find that you have to keep that charged all the time. Or if you have an old phone, using that is good too. Just something that you're not like texting on or, communicating with. And
yeah, I would say put it on Do Not Disturb if you can.
Yeah.
Turn the Instagram notifications off because it's really annoying when you're during a transaction and Instagram keeps popping up notifications. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
You should not have Instagram notifications anyway. I turn those off.
Well, I turn them off because usually I'll post in the morning of
Yeah.
the show and I'm like, hey, I'm at the show, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and then they'll habitually pop up and I'm like, oh,
I find it
get out of here.
really easy just to have like another like a mini iPad or something like that you can.
But it has to connect to cellular, so maybe your phone is the hotspot.
Yeah,
if you can get away with that.
Yeah.
And your iPad that doesn't have a bunch of notifications and it's more screen real estate and all that stuff.
Totally. Okay. Tips.
We should skip the last part of that question because we'll talk about it down in the next section.
Okay.
Is a business license needed?
Yes.
And which type? If so, yeah. So the business license, from what I get from this, that's the state license for like, hey, I can actually sell stuff, like a vendor license.
Right.
Mine in Ohio is considered a transient vendor license because I don't live in Ohio. So if you're traveling to different states or you're like, I'm on a river, so I'm neighboring the two states and I sell a lot in Ohio, even though I live in Kentucky. And then Kentucky is I can't remember what it's called. It's just a business license. I don't know if there's a different name for it or a more official name for it, but
I would say yes, a business license is needed typically, but it's show by show, and also sometimes you need a city license. Like, when you sell in the city of Seattle, you have to get a city license for Seattle. You have to get a business license in every single city that you sell in, which is so fucking annoying.
Jeez,
but
that's annoying.
Yeah, Washington really needs to figure out their shit in regards to that. But yeah, so make sure you do research like that, but your show coordinators will know. That's a question.
And that's And is that generally I know for me, it's for paying sales tax in that state or that city that you're selling in. That's the reason you have to have it.
Yeah, they want their money.
Right. Because otherwise there's no way for you to send money if you don't have a license number or whatever. They know to send you email reminders like, hey, your sales tax are due now. So yeah, look up vendor license and stuff like that. If it's in your state, maybe look up your state small business and like vendor license and stuff, things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. How far in advance do you typically start making pots to sell? How much does
This made me laugh too, but it's because I'm always making pots. Like I'm not making for any specific show.
And it made me laugh because I'm always fucking late. How much does the tent usually cost as compared to how much you sell? How many a year do you attend? How many shows a year do you attend?
4 days. How many a year? So the last couple years it's been about 25 or so. This year we'll see. I'll probably hit about 25. Yeah.
25. I don't know.
Yeah, that's gonna vary too. A lot of those are one-day shows. Some of those are farmers markets. I'll have a handful that are $10 tents, $25 tents, and then there'll be a handful that are $50 to $90 tents, and then there'll be probably 4 or 5 that are like $200+ tents. So it's a variety.
So yeah. So if I am doing if I was doing Leavenworth, so we're just gonna skip back 2 years. When I was doing Leavenworth before COVID, 26 shows, and that's every single weekend from May to October. So,
holy shit!
Yeah,
it's half the year. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, it's half the year. It's a lot, and I miss it. So dumb.
All right, so are we working our way backwards here? How much does the tent usually cost? I'm guessing that's the rent. How much does it take for a booth fee compared to how much you sell? Totally varies.
But typically you want to have 10 times the... Right? 10 times your booth fee?
Yeah, that's the standard. That actually kind of factors in with this other question down here. Let's go ahead and finish this one, and then I'll jump to that one. Yeah, 10 times is kind of the baseline, but we'll talk about it more in this other question down here. And then how far in advance do you typically start making pots to sell? Becca's was like 4 days until the next show.
Last year,
the next week.
I was like, I'm going to start in March. Or 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to start in March. I'm going to do it. And then April 1st comes around, and I'm like, fuck. I was like, fuck. I think that I was like maybe 2 weeks prior and I was making
Oh
pots,
my
like started
gosh.
making pots. It was so bad. It was
Okay,
so
that's
bad.
not a good rule of thumb because most people can't make in the efficient manner that you can.
Yeah. It's kind of like the whole making as you go situation. I mean, I would say start making in January. Don't stress yourself out. But also, if you are ever evolving in your style, that needs to be. I think you need to have a pretty tamped down style too. Because if
You mean like don't make a bunch of stuff in January that's not going to sell until May,
and then you have a
and then
completely
you make a
different
bunch
style.
of stuff in
Yeah.
February and it's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. Like, figure out who you are as a human being. If you're like all over the board, or if you're more consistent in style, then you can start preparing. And also, if you are like figuring out glazes or whatever, make a bunch of bisque pieces and put those on the back burner and glaze them.
Stock up the bisqueware. That's what I'm talking
Bisqueware,
about.
yeah,
Do it.
do it.
It's kind of boring because you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of plain bisqueware that's sitting there that I'm like,
It's so
I want to
helpful.
glaze it and I want to finish it, but it's great to have it sitting
Yeah,
there.
especially
When
like
you start selling at shows.
yeah, especially
And you know what sells and you know what doesn't.
yeah,
Like, you can easily just pull from that bisqueware and glaze it with the stuff that you know is going to sell.
like mugs, like having a classic, MUG mug and like just making a bunch of bisqueware pieces for that. So I will say that a couple years ago, I loved doing this, by the way. This was one of my funnest things. I think it was in March. And I always set like weird goals for myself. You remember the like 100 pots a day till May? Or something like
I thought it was 43
it was
a day
43
till
a
May.
day till May. That's what it was. And so I like made 43 pots a day until May, and I started at like April. But also me.
That was a pie in the sky goal, wasn't it?
It was crazy. Also, me and Andrew would always kind of sit down at like somewhere in April and like make a list of what I felt like I needed for that first show. And that was really good too. Like sit down with somebody other than yourself and like just hash out a list. But one year I did 700 pots in 7 days, and that was so
crap.
much fun for me. Like, find a reasonable goal. That's a pretty
Yeah.
lofty goal for a lot of people, but like it was awesome because on Monday I did 100 mugs. On Tuesday I did 100 wine glasses. On Wednesday I did 100 small bowls. And it just like went really fast. And by the time I was done, I was like, yeah, this is good. Like I feel really accomplished. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I had way more than 300 pieces at my booth. But anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
But yeah, that's a good thing to do. Just stock, like, make as much as you can. Like, I made whatever 800 pieces in January. It was a lot of smaller pieces. It was a lot of shot glasses. It was a lot of saucers, a lot of spoon rests. But I'm making a lot of things because I'm stocking up.
Yeah.
I'm generally not going to do any big sales until May 1st.
yeah.
At least on a typical basis, because there's just not many shows and there's not it's not heavy selling season
Yeah.
until the spring, at least where I live. So
Get the small stuff out of the way.
You know,
That's the stuff you're going to sell anyway.
I'm not doing the like monthly updates. What about the balancing the like, do I need to do monthly updates so that I keep having things available versus holding pieces back so that I have them for shows? Because it's worse to sell something like in February and March and you sell a bunch of it. Not that this would happen to me, but like selling all of my mugs in March and I'm like out of mugs for a show that I'm having in May. Like that would be such stress to have to restock all of it.
If I knew I was going to make a shit ton of money at a show, I would not want to put the effort into doing an update.
Yeah.
But some people are superheroes. It's fine. They can do both. But but
Yeah.
but I think that I would choose whichever one is going to make you more money.
And do you have to enjoy it more though? I feel like I would much rather sell it at a show
That's
because
true,
of
because we actually like it.
the effort that goes into it versus the photography and the listing and the
Yeah.
packing and shipping. Like, I would much rather wrap pieces at a show than pack and ship it.
I think I've come to think of it, I was doing like a couple years ago. I was doing flash sales at the exact same time I was prepping for shows, and it was
God.
terrible.
I mean, I'm thinking of doing like a mystery box sale.
Yeah.
Maybe on my birthday, which is 10 days before my show, my first show. But it's those odds and ends pieces that have been hanging around. It's not the bread and butter pieces that are going to need to be for the show.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Maybe I'll sell one item
All right.
on my birthday for May 1st. I'm selling one mug or one cup.
Auction.
Yes.
Auction piece.
Sell it on eBay.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so the one question that I wanted to get back to that was about the tent cost and stuff like that. So this one says, how and when do you decide it's not profitable to continue doing a specific show? In your terms, what does a profitable show look like? I've heard 10 times your booth fee, but I feel like that's also determined by where you live. If you live in an area that's less willing to spend that money, do you think that you should spend that time should be spent finding shows in different locations or focusing your energy online? And other questions about like doing Instagram sales while at a show, being profitable. Has it changed during COVID and stuff like that? So, yeah, what do you think? Like, how do you judge a show based on whether you want to return or not? There's a number of factors for me.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of factors. I think that, like, a lot of the times, especially for the small shows, because like a farmer's market or something like that, I will break it down into an hourly rate because sometimes I'm like, it was like $10 to be in the show or $25, you know?
Right.
And so 10 times your booth fee, like, doesn't really matter. So sometimes I'll be like, I made $40 an hour in 3 hours. I'm okay with that. Like, you know, and for the amount of work that you put into, because farmers markets are no work at all. You just like, oh, by the way, my booth setup for a farmers market is completely different than my booth setup for a regular show. My booth setup for a farmers market.
Yeah, you're not doing the full setup.
No, I throw out a table, no tablecloth, just throw the pots on there. If you want them, you want them. If you don't, you don't. I don't fucking care. So, like,
I do a little bit nicer setup than that, but it's a single table setup.
Yeah.
It's not 2 tables or 3 tables and yeah.
Yeah, I think my last farmer's market I had 2 tables and they were both dirty, and I like didn't even take.
You
any
showed me that, and you sold a good amount
I sold
there.
$1,500.
Didn't you sell over $1,000 there? How much was it?
$1,500.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, in 4 hours, I'd be okay with that. But yeah, like, it totally depends, especially if you're someplace local. Because if you're someplace local and you made some money and you had fun doing it and you talked to people and you made connections, that's worth it in itself. But for, like, a bigger show, if I'm... Yeah, I mean, like... Yeah, I mean, if you're paying, like, $400 for a booth or even $150 for a booth, I want to make a lot more money than that. So... It's up to you. I feel like you walk away from a show saying this was good or this was not okay, and that's a gut feeling, and I think you should go with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. If I'm judging the 3 tiers of booth types, like you're kind of talking about the farmers market, I completely judge that based on, you know, how did that fit into my schedule? Typically, those farmers markets are 9 a.m. to 1. I'm not getting my ass out of bed until like 11 o'clock on Saturdays typically. So, hell, the 2 hours of the beginning of that show and the hour and a half that I spent setting up was nothing. Like, it's not taking time away from me doing something. So for that, it's totally effort and, you know, how enjoyable was it? And was I taking time away from doing other stuff? I do typically like nap after it, so like it is kind of a time suck after, and the day is a little bit drained. But yeah, for that $10 show, $25 show, and like last year, I averaged better with those shows. I probably sold $500 at a minimum at most of those, so like that felt pretty good for a farmer's market. And like the people are nice. you see the same customers like you're talking about in the past. Farmers markets, it's a lot of the same people coming week after week.
Mm-hmm.
And there's regularity. There's, it's 10 minutes from my house. The setup is easy. And if we go a step higher than that to the $50 to $90 tents, a lot of that factors in with how much effort is it to set up the tent. Like, can I offload right there at the booth? If I've got to like lug a bunch of shit and wheel it in, like that can be tasking and that can be kind of aggravating to do, and the money of the show kind of factors into that because it's a lot of extra effort to do it. Are the customers generally nice? Is it people that like appreciate the craft, or is it a bunch of people that are looking for stuff that are cheaper? I do definitely factor into like what's the average price that people are looking for. Like if it's the City Flea down in Washington Park, the average price people are looking for is probably $20 to $25. So am I going to sell enough shot glasses and air plants and spoon rests and maybe a handful of mugs in there, maybe a few oil bottles to make it worth my time? Because the setup can be a little bit more grueling. So, it's a lot of just feel, like you said. And then the bigger shows are like, it does come down to money more with those, because they usually are multiple days. You have to pay to stay somewhere because they're probably going to be out of town.
Or sleep in your van.
And
yeah.
Well, I don't have that option.
But that's the benefit of a van. I'm just saying.
But yeah, so that definitely factors in. It's more costly because you got to go somewhere, you got to stay somewhere, you got to pay for meals, you got to, it's more tasking to. Might have to take a day off work, and but yeah, I mean they're generally going to be you're going to make more money. I haven't sold $3,000 worth at another show than the one that I had to travel a couple hours to and stay somewhere and all that stuff. Right. But yeah, so, and then some of them I'll just be like, hey, I've got 25 shows this year. Is it worth adding these 2 or 3 that I wasn't really sure about last year, right, that were kind of like, I don't know. I can take or leave that. Like, I'll leave it, but I'll add a couple more new shows maybe to try them out, see what happens.
Yeah.
And, I'm always trying new shows. I feel like that's the best way to just keep refining your clientele and seeing what's out there.
Yeah. I think that I'm not a really good person to ask that question, just because I value the experience of a show so much more than I value the money. Like I could have made so much more money at shows other than Leavenworth. But it was like, it's like my home, and so it didn't matter to me. Like it didn't matter. And it all evened out in the end. But yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, you're very community focused with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's you got to be around those people for 5 months straight or 6 months straight. Yeah. Like you got to have some kind of.
Yeah, you get real close, and so I think that it's not about the money for me as much as it is about the experience. So, also on a side note, I will say, as we all know my personality, if you haven't listened to any other podcasts than this one, go back. but like. In a way, it pays to be like the derpy, like fun-loving person. Like if you establish yourself as somebody that's like kind of out there and like kind of crazy, but like lovable, it really does benefit you. I just want to say that because like I was one of those people when I started going to shows that I was like 2 hours early, and I would like sit in my car and like wait, and I was like so worried about it, and then like 3 shows go by and I'm like an hour late, like running into the show, like setting up late, and like kind of like just being a fucking hot mess. And that proved to be a lot more beneficial than the other ones because they remember me, they like me even though I'm a fucking mess. And and I think that like when we were talking about show applying for shows, that's why I haven't applied for a lot of shows, because they're like, oh yeah, I know who you are, and it like you just become a memorable figure just because you're just all over the place in a good way,
not because they're gonna deny you from being in the show.
Right.
But because you have familiarity with the shows that you've done.
Yeah, and like, you know, like you're familiar and they know who you are, and like you have to have good product to back this up. You couldn't go in there and be a shitty artist and then like and do this. But yeah, anyway, I felt like I should say that. It took like 3 shows for me like be like, oh damn it, I didn't know that I could set up last night instead of this morning. And they're like, did you read the directions? Yeah. I'm like, no. Not until this morning.
Oh gosh. I feel like I want to answer a few of these Instagram questions that were from the question.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to break this up into 2 parts.
Yeah. So there's other parts about booth setup and whatnot. I want to answer. Maybe we'll answer a couple on here.
I feel like we're at a really good spot to stop, and we can answer some Instagram questions, and then because we got to prepping, and then we can talk about booth setup
next time
and selling, actual selling. Like I think that we didn't talk about like selling tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Aletha coming through with the questions.
Aletha, you are a freaking question rock star. We love you.
He's got 5 here.
You and Liz, man. You guys are rocking it.
All right, so I think a lot of these might have been in the booth setup. Or no, they're not. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. So yeah, okay, thinking on packing episode, how do you pack things at a show? We talked about that.
No, we didn't actually.
We did.
No, we didn't.
We said, how do you pack? They're saying big padded wrap or just a bag. They're talking about when you give it to customers.
Oh, but we didn't talk about how we pack our pots to get there, and I think we should because we know about, like, you know about my boxes.
Okay. Well, first, how do you pack it to give it to a customer? Since that's what she asked.
I unroll the paper and take off about 12 inches, and then
Not that specific. And then, so it's the 18-inch roll, you do the paper, you wrap the piece in paper, and then...
Yeah, but I put a business card inside the mug, and then I wrap the paper inside the mug, and then I throw it in a bag, and I give them the bag.
And it's the craft
paper.
It's the Cub-size bag, because you're anti-rose bag.
I am. I only buy Cub-size bags. Oh, and I'll buy, like... What actually usually happens is I buy a few bigger bags, but I usually buy them off of other artists because I don't want like 45 bigger bags. I just go up and I'm like, hey, dude, can I buy a couple bags off of you? Because it's so much easier to have like 5 really large ones. But honestly, I would rather give 2 Cub-sized bags to somebody, like straight up.
I do something similar. I have that masking paper, and then I use the rose size bags a lot. If it's a single mug, I'll use that. I know it's basically the same cost for a rose bag than a Cub bag,
exactly,
but I
the same
like it
cost.
for the size. And if you're getting like shot glasses, which a lot of people get shot glasses or a spoon rest, I like to put those in that bag. If they get multiples, if it's even smaller than that and it's just a spoon rest, I'll use the little paper sleeves. And I'll put that in there and fold it over and just give them that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll put a business card or business paper in there. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, also, definitely 100% not above asking if they need a bag. I think that it's really important that we start doing this. Say, do you need a bag before you start giving them a bag? Because a lot of the times, especially at an art show, they're already carrying a bag. Unless you have a bag with, like, your logo and stuff that you want people to see, there's nothing that says you can't be like, hey, do you want to just share the bag with this fucking, like, fabric artist? Like, it's probably more protective than the paper I'm going to give you. You know, still wrap it, but then you can... There's nothing wrong with that.
That's a great point. Yes, I definitely try to do that. Especially, like, farmers markets. Like, a lot of those people bring reusable bags because they come every week. And they're shopping for produce and stuff. And they have the reusable bags. So... Definitely.
Don't assume they want a bag.
I've saved a number of bags. Yeah.
Don't assume.
And don't. Yeah. Ask them, and then hey, you get to keep a bag. It's worth the not giving them a branded bag for like saving a bag.
Oh.
I'd rather save a bag than give them a bag that they're going to get rid of.
Yeah, and don't use fucking plastic bags, and also don't use reusable plastic bags. You can use those for cat litter. Like don't be.
I scooped my cat shit up with that.
Yeah, like don't. I'm sorry. Like the environment, I agree. I think it needs to be saved. But I'll like buy paper bags. If you're gonna sell pottery, buy a fucking paper bag. Do not give them a plastic bag. That's asking for your pieces to be broken and them coming back to you a half an hour later.
And just think about it. That is the last interaction you're having with them.
Yeah.
That is the sign off. That's the last thing they're going to remember of experience with your business and with you. If you hand them a paper Kroger bag or plastic Kroger bag, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this?
Be professional. Like, you don't have to put tablecloths on your tables, but give them a fucking paper bag.
And if you can't buy them in bulk, like you can get those at Michael's.
On eBay.
Suck it up. Pay a little bit more money at Michael's if you get in a pinch and you have to get them last minute.
Yeah.
You can get some at Michael's.
I will say, however, there was one time that I did run into an issue, and I thought I was going to run out of bags. I might have actually run out of bags, and I had to buy a stack of bags from the Albertsons in Gig Harbor. Like,
do you mean like plastic bags?
Yeah, the plastic ones. And it was like after that, I always made sure I had extra bags.
You had to buy them. You couldn't just sneak a stack of bags off the.
Yeah, no. We didn't talk about change either. How much change you should bring to a show.
I mean, that wasn't really a question.
I know it wasn't a question, but we need to answer that because that's important.
I bring like $150 in cash normally.
If I remember it, I bring like 40 in one, no, like maybe 20 to 40 in ones, like 20 in ones, 40 in fives, and a couple tens.
I usually bring probably 20 to 30 ones, maybe $30 in fives, 3 tens, and maybe 4 20s.
Yeah, I think
just in case somebody gives me
usually,
$100 out of the gate.
I never throw in 20s because I always used to have cash, like always, and so I always had enough change in my wallet, but just in case. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a cash holder, so. Okay, did you want to talk about the packing of your pots in boxes and stuff?
Yes.
For getting to and from a show?
Yes, I do. What do you do for that?
All right, I generally do the Tupperware container. Tupperware. What the fuck am I talking about? Are they Tupperware?
Rubbermaid.
They're not Tupperware. Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid. I'm distracted by Autumn just all over my lap. The Rubbermaid containers, I like the ones that are shallow, like the kind that would like fit underneath your bed. I don't know how deep that is, maybe 6 to 8 inches deep. And I use the cardboard dividers. So I kind of made those out of big cardboard boxes. You cut down, you make the little cubby squares and stuff for mugs. That's generally what I use. And then I have these other bins that are a little bit deeper. I do something very similar for the bottles. And then for the bowls, there's not really an easy way to do the bowls. I feel like I just have to use some of that like thicker foam or like a paper or something like that I can weave in and out of the bowls and nest them.
Corrugated cardboard works really good for that too.
What's that?
Whoa. Are you there?
You cut out, but I assume you said something there.
Oh, I said corrugated cardboard works really good for that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used that. That actually is a good idea. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
I have plenty of corrugated cardboard. I should probably just cut up a bunch of squares of that.
And reuse it.
Yeah. Because bowls, and I would recommend don't stack the bowls vertically in the bin because mine have tended to break in that fashion.
What?
It could be depending on how good your bowls nest. I turn them on their sides and lay them on their sides because my bin's not that deep, so if it's pretty shallow, like I benefit from having them on their sides versus stacked up. I've had bowls break inside of each other just because my bowls are not the best nesting bowls. Some of them could come in at the tops and like they rest the side on the rim and they can crack. So that's generally how I pack everything. What about you?
I'm not like that at all.
I feel like we talked about this before. I know what's coming.
Well, let's start with what is a little bit more comfortable for people and how I used to pack my pots. I used to take Rubbermaids and I used to get the taller ones. And so what I would do, most of my mugs are exactly the same height. This is also a benefit to making similar shapes. And I would pack all of the mugs in the bottom Nothing between them, because if they scratched, I didn't make my glazes right. So I pack them all in and smush them up to the sides and just make sure they're as tight as they can be. And then I put a flat cardboard on top of that, and then pack some more, all the same height, and then a flat cardboard on that, and then pack some more, all the same height, and then I put a towel on top or something soft, and then I put the lid on so it compresses them down, and when it compresses them down, they don't move. It's very fucking heavy.
Right. The idea is make sure they're not moving and shifting, right, and you're stopping and braking, and you hear mugs and pieces like clanking up together. You don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that. So it's very heavy. That version is super heavy. And that's a lot of the reason why I stopped. Now, this is, in my opinion, the best system because it's the right size and they're free.
Assuming that you make the pieces in this size, right?
Right. Assuming that you make small pieces. Like, okay, I go to Costco when I had a Costco card, and I get the pepper boxes. I'm being very specific.
Pepper boxes have not changed from Costco in years.
I'm being very specific because the tomato boxes...
Which kind of peppers? Are you talking about jalapeno peppers? Or are you talking about bell peppers? What kind of peppers, Becca?
Bell peppers.
Okay,
I'm being very specific because they have tomato boxes, and those tomato boxes are short. They're 4 inches versus 5 inches. So, pepper boxes are where it's at. They're taller. Now, these...
What about like grapefruit boxes? Grapefruits could be big enough.
They could be. So, the pepper boxes, the reason why I go with those, I think it was just a fluke, and it was just magic. The reason I go with those is they are meant to stack on top of each other. They are basically produce carts, right?
Yeah.
Produce bins. So they have little...
Because they have like a male-female kind of thing.
Yeah, they have little locking feet in the bottoms. So I have had shows where I have stacked 10 of these on top of each other.
Oh my god.
Maybe 7.
I thought you were going to say like 4.
No, maybe 7.
You said 10?
It was almost as tall as I am. And they are
gosh.
sturdy as fuck. They are so sturdy. And they're like 5 inches tall. So if you have shortish mugs or like medium, my mugs are not small. They fit right in there. You just have to make sure that it's right below the top of the box. And if you're production, if you have a lot of the same stuff, it works perfect. Now, the reason I like this is because they never get too heavy. You can always carry them.
Because it's just cardboard.
Yeah, you can always carry them. And you can't fit too many in. And but I still just stack them. Like, I just butt them right next to each other. I don't put anything between them. But one thing you have to do before you use the boxes, you go around the sides of them with tape, with clear tape. It just keeps them together and it keeps them sturdy.
Reinforce it, yeah.
And then, and so then I would do them in 2 stacks in the back of my car. I would stack up the first stack and scoot it on, and then stack up the second stack and scoot it on. And they actually coincidentally fit perfectly in those big yellow contractor tubs from Lowe's. They fit right inside the lid, which is really nice. And then I would bungee those down to the ground and put like a towel on top of the top one. And that's it. The last couple of years I've been using bread carts from Fran's Bakery because they left them at the neighbors. But those were really large, and they did the same stacking things, but bread carts are good too. They're just a little bit bigger and they take a little bit more effort. So I still... Yeah,
they look a little bit wider and kind of more unruly.
Yeah, and it gets pretty heavy.
Around.
It gets pretty heavy, but I still think that stacking shallow boxes was the best way to go, for sure.
That sounds kind of like what I have for the shallower bins, but mine had the cardboard in between them.
Yeah. Also, God, there's so much to talk about. Also, packing your car. I think that it needs to be said that if you have the space, pack your car according to how you unpack and pack your system. So, for instance, when I would pack my booth, the tents are on the top, so I can pull those out first, get the tents up, and then I'm looking at pots coming out last. So I have shelving coming out.
I need to figure out a way to put the tent in last. It's just normally it's easy to put down there because it's so heavy. I don't want to be putting it on top of shit.
Right.
After I already get all the pots in there, but
totally. And I mean, like, it's not totally last. Like, there's a few things that come off the top, but like, yeah, I think it's really, if you have the space and you can do it, make sure that you are setting up your car to efficiently unpack your booth. So like, you know, and do it backwards when you pack it up. So when you're unpacking, tents out first, shelving out next, tables out next, all your decoration, whatever shit out next, pots out last. Set them all up. And then when you're setting it in, pots in first, and then all your decoration, tables, shelving, then your tents. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point, though, because I have, mine's a little bit backwards because I put my tent in first because that kind of sets that's the baseline of like, I need to fit it around this because I know the tent is the longest thing in here and it has to fit in this kind of spot.
Yeah. And
because I don't want to get to the end of it and I try to shut my trunk and it's going to hit the window.
Totally.
I'm like, oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of times you don't have the space, but if you do have the space, think about it, you know? Also, I just had it.
I would definitely say see if you can put your tables on top of your pots and stuff, though, because, I mean, mine can slide around a little bit, but I've had it where you're ready to put the tent up and the tables up, but the tables are underneath the pots, and, like, you can get a good baseline. Get the tables out there, get them set up, and then you put the tablecloths on, and then the pots go underneath the table.
Yeah.
And then you start, like, setting it up from there. So.
You might need a cart. You know, buying like a cart to like a dolly cart. So keep that in mind if you have to move around anywhere. Like Leavenworth,
I have a couple.
We never needed the carts, but any other show I did. And
what about what type of dollies? I've got a couple. I've got one that's like really space efficient that folds up, and it's just like a flip down one that's got a foot that's maybe 10 inches or something that folds out, so I can fit a couple bins on it. But I'm not rolling a whole bunch of stuff.
I like the rolly carts.
That's like my basic one. That's my basic one because I don't have a lot of space. So if I'm tight on space, I'll do that. If I do have space and like Rachel's not with me, I'll put the rolling dolly that has the two like pump up wheels and it's got the more rigid, hard plastic wheels.
Yeah.
With the metal dolly.
See, you use a dolly,
you
and I use a cart.
Yeah, I don't have space for a cart.
I use a flat cart that folds up flat. So.
Are you talking about like a wagon that's sided?
No,
that?
No, I'm looking at it. I'm like looking at one. No, it's like a level. It's a platform with 4 wheels, and then the handle you press on the little bar and it folds flat, and you can just stick it right in the cart.
Oh.
So.
Maybe I need to look into that. Are the wheels really big, though?
They can be, but you can get a smaller one that the wheels aren't too big. I know at some point Costco made one where the wheels actually flipped in, which was really nice.
Ooh, yeah. The wheels are the big parts that take up a lot of space.
Yeah, wheels do take up a lot of space.
Well, we could probably end it here. Unless you want to book in this one with Becca. Now that you're with Gravesco, are you planning to take your personal work to shows? The people want to know, Becca.
The people want to know. I mean, we'll see if I don't even have a kiln yet, so I don't want to predict anything, but it would be lovely to go to a few shows. I would love that.
See, you miss it. You want to do this.
I do miss it. I didn't realize how much I missed it until this moment. But
this magic
my heart is like There's a lot to talk about.
Are you committed to do the backyard one at my parents' house in July?
July? I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Hopefully your kiln's supposed to be there in April, right?
End of April, but hopefully. Ontario's in like a code red lockdown right now. So we're hoping that we get it at the end of April, but we'll see.
All right. Well, that was a lot of questions.
That was a lot of questions. Did we mark down the ones that we did?
We still have half of them. I knew this thing would be 2 parts.
I'm excited though. I'm really down for this because I feel like the last part you kind of had most of the knowledge, and this part we both have a lot of different knowledge, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back for part 2 soon.
Yeah. Part 2.
Yeah, I really enjoy art shows, and just the one-on-one with people is just so great. Even with COVID, like, still being able to sell one-on-one with people is amazing.
Oh, also, to end the episode, I guess, Ryan, this is what I think we should do since we live in proximity now. I think that in a couple years we should make our own show, like have our own show, but call it the Buddy Show, and where you have to sign up with one of your friends that's another artist.
Ooh.
And so
Do you share a booth?
no, you don't share a booth.
You...
you swap booths. So like, wouldn't that be so much fun? Like,
that would be interesting. So I set up my booth how I want to set up
Yes.
the booth, but you sell for me.
yes. And we are set up right next to each other. Like the buddies are set up right next to each other, and it could be totally different mediums. Like if I was friends with if I was a potter, and then I had a friend that was a jeweler, and I loved their earrings, we could switch and we could sell for each other. How fun would that be? I feel like it would be so much fun.
That would be pretty fun, actually, because I'm sure the booth fee would be pretty cheap. You're just throwing money into, like, advertising.
Yeah.
So it's just for the fun of it.
And we can call it the Buddy Show.
That's a great idea.
Maybe we shouldn't have said that on the podcast.
I've never heard this idea before, so maybe you shouldn't have, but we're going to keep it in there, because who's listening this far anyways? They're 2 hours in. They're pretty dedicated.
If you steal our idea, we'll know. Even if you block us on Instagram, we'll find out.
We will find out.
Yeah. Cool.
That's a good idea.
Sweet. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're having so much fun. If you want to follow us individually on Instagram, you totally can. Ryan's Instagram handle is @RDCeramics, and mine is 5 Lines Pottery. That's the number 5. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to write us a review on our podcast. We read every single one of them, and we totally appreciate them. They help us out an awful lot, and they also put smiles on our faces. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we love you. Thanks. Bye.